Good morning. Welcome. This is the Teacher of God series, as going through the manual for teachers through A Course in Miracles, which is just another tool for me that's been truly helpful that I'm sharing with you. There's so many tools out there that are specially designed for each and every one of us, and so I try not to put too much attachment to this form or any form, so that I could be of maximum service and have the least amount of blocks between myself and my Creator and myself and each of you. And so it's just a practice and sharing different tools that I have found to be truly helpful. So I'm going to start off today with a short prayer, and we'll go from there. Let's each take a few deep breaths, not forced, not particular attention to the breath. Just a nice, easy pause. We're all likely to have racing thoughts, a settling in of the body to participate in teaching in and in learning. That's okay. Help us to hold each other in the heart space. To extend out from here and from our hearts to each and every one of us. The love, the tenderness, the ease, the comfort that is our inheritance. If anybody comes to mind that there's harsh feelings towards, or any circumstance that brings fear or anger, we're just going to put it to the side, just for now, as a gift to ourselves, to take this time to spend with one another. And just practice and explore each moment anew, an opportunity to pause, whatever that looks like for each of us, extending gifts to ourselves, the gift of time spent, tenderness spent, gentleness, to participate in joy, to allow ourselves to take breaks from the busyness of life. Just instances here and there. So let's get it started. Okay, so this is out of Manual for Teachers. I'm just going to read a short piece of it, and it's what are the levels of teaching? The teachers of God have no set teaching level. Each teaching learning situation involves a different relationship at the beginning, although the ultimate goal is always the same: to make of the relationship a holy relationship in which both can look upon the Son of God as sinless. There is no one from whom a teacher of God could not learn, so there is no one whom he could not teach. However, from a practical point of view, he cannot meet everyone, nor can they find him. Therefore, the plan includes a very specific contacts to be made for each teacher of God. There are no accidents in salvation. Those who are to meet will meet, because together they have the potential for a holy relationship. They are ready for each other. The simplest level of teaching appears to be quite superficial. It consists of what seem to be very casual encounters, a chance meeting of two apparent strangers in an elevator, a child who is not looking where he is going running into an adult by chance, two students happening to walk home together. These are not chance encounters. Each of them has the potential for becoming a teacher-learning situation. Perhaps the seeming strangers in the elevator will smile to one another. Perhaps the adult will not scold the child for bumping into him. Perhaps the students will become friends. Even at the level of the most casual encounter, it is possible for two people to lose sight of separate interests, if only for a moment. That moment will be enough. Salvation has come. It is difficult to understand that the levels of teaching, the universal course, is a concept as meaningless in reality as it is in time. The illusion of one permits the illusion of the other. In time, the teacher of God seems to begin to change his mind about the world with a single decision. He then learns more and more about the new direction as he teaches it. We have covered the illusion of time already, but the illusion of levels of teaching seem to be something different. Perhaps the best way to demonstrate that these levels cannot exist is simply to say that any level of teaching-learning situation is part of God's plan for atonement, and his plan can have no levels, but reflection of his will. Salvation is always ready and always there. God's teachers work at different levels, but the result is always the same. Each teaching-learning situation is maximal in the sense that each person involved will learn the most that he can from the other person at that time. In this sense, and in this sense only, we can speak of levels of teaching. Using the term in this way, the second level of teaching is more substantial relationship in which, for a time, two people enter into a fairly intense teaching-learning situation and then appear to separate. As with the first level, these meetings are not accidental, nor is what happens to be the end of the relationship a real end. Again, each has learned the most he can at the time. Yet all who meet will someday meet again, for it is the destiny of all relationships to become holy. God is not mistaken in his Son. The third level of teaching occurs in relationship which, once they are formed, are lifelong. These are teaching-learning situations in which each person is given a chosen learning partner who presents him with unlimited opportunities for learning. These relationships are generally few, because their existence implies that those involved have reached a stage simultaneously in which the teaching-learning balance is actually perfect. This does not mean that they necessarily recognize this. In fact, they generally do not. They may even be quite hostile to each other for some time and perhaps for life. Yet, should they decide to learn it, the perfect lesson is before them and it can be learned. And if they decide to learn that lesson, they may become the saviors of the teachers who falter and may even seem to fail. No teacher of God can fail to find the help he needs. So we've all had, a multitude of experiences here where relationships are uh, short or chance encounters, small meetings. Some stick with us in what we seem to remember, and some don't. And then we all have relationships that seem to have caused strife for one or both individuals. And what this is saying here is that there are no chance encounters, there are no accidents, that we have an opportunity to have these appointments throughout the day, and these opportunities to learn and to teach. And then, of course, the world, has ideas about this, that a lot of elders feel they can't learn anything from those younger than them, or that they know more. Or children may think that the adults have no clue of what's going on and how they ought to listen. And then there's the traditional roles. If you're wanting to take a college course, if you're wanting to further yourself, or a counseling situation. And so there's just so many natures, co-workers, bosses, and so forth. And so what this is saying is that for me, it gives me a lot of peace because it makes a lot of sense of different relationships and opportunities that passed me by where I could have learned something a long time ago, but chose not to because usually because anger was in the way or because my opinions, my beliefs, my attitudes, my ideas of right and wrong were in the way. And so this is also talking about those instances where we're with another person. Time as we see it seems to stand still, and that there's a moment that we see one another as if the first time. I'll choose the word innocence, or where differences just seem to fall away. So there's that little instant of a connection, knowing that I'm not alone, or them knowing that they're not alone. So it could be something as simple as a smile, an acknowledgement, a hug, a handshake, and that's all that's necessary. And so it's also saying here that these small chance encounters are actually accomplishing something. That the everything we see or perceive that there's something happening when our innocence is revealed to one another, or the light within each other, or the highest part of each other. There are so many different ways to look at this. And then, in a general sense, we all have ideas of right and wrong. Things like, big, powerful words right now are freedom, justice, things like that. And so, freedom and justice imply that we're not free in some kind of way. And justice implies that something wrong has been done and it needs to be corrected. And so this is saying that, there's a space in us that is unchanged, that'll never change, and we've just forgotten. And so we're trying to, together, hand in hand, so to speak, to remember or return to this safe place, this home. And in this place, justice and freedom, that's the only um, true um, way to capture it, I guess, is the easiest way to put it, is that, deep within us that there is no limitations, no lines of division, no fear, no worry, no anger, no frustration, no confusion. But if that's all we see, it seems pretty far-fetched. It seems like that is something that I myself will never attain, or never attain for a lengthy period of time. And we appear to be in all these separate bodies and separate homes, even more so now in recent years' events. It seems that a lot of people are, feeling a desperation and a loneliness to a deep level through committing suicide, through, all different, actions, or, dying from COVID, or things having nothing to do with COVID. And so it's just too much for the body to bear a lot of these things. But this place within us, there is no such thing as too much to bear because it's already there. There's no lack there. There's no, trying to accomplish, reach, do anything. We're just being. And in being, if I am energy, I don't need energy. If I am love, I don't have to go looking for it. If I trust in my source within myself that I can't sever from, then there's nothing to worry about. And so it sounds good in theory, and it's a practice over and over again. the most I could seem to take, in a sense, and it seems to be working well, is a 24-hour period. And so a lot of times I used to be the yes woman. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll show up for that. Yeah, I'll be there. And then I'd let a whole bunch of people down, forget I overcommitted in a given day. And so a lot of times now I'll say, if someone invites me to do something on Saturday, I'll say, well, can we see where we're both at on Saturday morning? And that also keeps me open for opportunities of these appointments. These things that would probably do me a whole lot better than me running around, trying to run the show or trying to busy myself to pieces. So we each have these opportunities to take the time for ourselves to really be in the moment. And so if you're playing with your child, for example, or a grandchild, and you're able to really hear, participate, listen without thinking about what happened this morning, thinking about what's going on later on, to really pay attention and be present with anybody is such a gift. I know that when someone takes the time to be with me, just be with me, not necessarily doing anything, just they want to hang out. It's truly a gift. One of my favorite stories is Leo Buscaglia wrote a book called Love. And he thought surely somebody else wrote a book by that title, Love, and no one had. But in a lot of his stories, one of his stories was he would, and I believe this is the right author, and I apologize if it isn't, but he had a lifetime friend that they would be able to reunite yearly or about yearly throughout their lives. And when he would go to meet this friend, it was on a coast somewhere, and it was at a certain place. Well, when the friend would see him, first catch sight of him, he would literally jump for joy and start, clapping his hands. So happy to get to see his friend again. Yay, I get to see my friend again. And, most of us don't have a lot of those experiences. A lot of us feel tolerated and not, celebrated. And so to give someone that gift, to truly, authentically be happy to see somebody. And that's the thing too, is we need to be honest within ourselves. There are certain blocks to learning as well. Doesn't make a person or persons bad, wrong, to be ousted, anything like that. But if the relationship is mostly harmful and hardly ever helpful, yeah, there might be a teaching or a learning opportunity, but either they're not ready for it or I'm not ready for it. And so even if I go through, say, Facebook, or I start looking in the phone list, when's the last time I talked to this person? When we talk, what's it usually about? Are we helpful to each other? Are we, misery loves company? Are we making each other more miserable, more angry? And again, that doesn't mean to close off a relationship entirely, and sometimes it does. Um, if I'm being abused, for example, and it's violent and it's threatening, and I do, um, have the capability to leave the situation, want to change that situation, because we don't have to be a punching bag, or we don't have to be punching at somebody, to force our will on each other either. And we can remove ourselves from situations that are harmful. And so this is just another short um, introduction, for what I'm practicing, what I have found helpful, what I continue to practice. And sometimes I just throw it all away, don't practice none of it, and just be darn miserable. Thank you thank you very much. Um, so we could go on this journey again together, and again, I'll be doing these short lessons about teachers of God, and then also continuing with the children's stories. And then also attitudinal healing began. This is actually the time for the AM session, but we had no one showing up today. We'll have an evening session, and there will be attitudinal healing groups, hopefully forming in the future, especially in partnership with different facilities. So if you have for example, here in Mesilla Valley, I think it's called, but there's, or a rehab facility, there's prison opportunities for attitudinal healing, things of that nature. So the information is, I believe, attitudinalhealinginternational.org. If you have an interest or want to know what that's about and want to participate, and hopefully, as there's participation, have future facilitators in their own facilities to be able to offer that to people in these times. And so, for now, until next time, have a good one. All right. Thanks.